It's a day that ends in Y, so Chelsea are doing something stupid again. I'm Daniel Childs, and today we're going to be looking at Joao Felix, the name once again linked with a move to Chelsea. This time, no, not on loan. Apparently, a permanent deal could be on the horizon in what is turning out to be, by Chelsea, even by Chelsea standards, a absolutely astonishing summer, a mad window, but not astonishingly good, astonishingly bizarre, astonishingly chaotic. We're going to go through all of it. I mean, I run a Chelsea podcast, and even though it's niche in a sense, you know, we're not covering general football stuff on this channel. We're not covering general sports stuff. Even with Chelsea specific stuff, trying to keep on top of everything that happens regarding this club in like a 24-hour, 48-hour cycle is getting very difficult. It's almost like whiplash, and maybe I guess that's the point. If you throw enough stuff at the wall, people kind of don't know where to begin, and they kind of ignore some important things. So this has all come about because obviously the Samu Omorodion deal has fallen through, a deal we expected to get done. But, you know, when I heard the news that Amorodion had fallen through, I thought, you know, listen, ain't the end of the world. Amorodion, I could have seen him being a decent player for Chelsea, but we've already got Jackson, we've already got Mark Guiu. Do we need him? No. Is it the end of the world of us not signing him? No, but they've gone very hard briefing about Victor Osimhen, so it seems like that's the big priority. But the problem for Chelsea, I mean, it shouldn't be a problem for Chelsea, but they've entangled themselves in this stupidity to begin with, is that basically Chelsea and Atletico Madrid still need to do a deal for a player because it's all tied together in this web with Alvarez from Man City, Gallagher, and a player moving in the opposite direction to Chelsea for financial reasons. I mean, if this doesn't come through for Chelsea and for Atletico, where does that leave Gallagher? Where does that leave Alvarez? This is kind of the mad world of transfers where so many things are linked together. Joao Felix, I mean, I made my position on him clear about a year ago, probably over that now. A guy who should be nowhere near Chelsea, who for me is massively overrated as a player. The idea he's even worth like 40-50 million for me is pretty laughable. For me, even 20 million in the current market, given what you could get for other players, I mean, is staggering, especially when you look at who Chelsea have got in the area he'd be fighting for. Cole Palmer, Christopher Nkunku, significantly better players from the off. But then also even a guy like Conor Gallagher, I wonder, you know, we could get more out of him, and why he's been discarded I find completely bizarre. You know, you think about the deal being done for Keane and Dewsbury Hall. Yes, people will scream and say, oh, but they don't play the same role. But, you know, if you look at where Joao Felix really plays, he's a guy that really struggles to play as a centre forward. He isn't really a winger. He isn't a central midfielder. So he's kind of fighting for an 8/10 role. So that's already a very crowded position naturally in Chelsea's squad to begin with. So that's a problem. We've signed Pedro Neto, so obviously he's taking up a wide spot. And in terms of the player, I don't really see the value in bringing in Joao Felix. Felix needs Chelsea more than Chelsea need Felix, and Atletico Madrid need to sell Joao Felix more than Chelsea need to buy Joao Felix. You cannot miss the irony of the fact that Chelsea are apparently wanting to buy a player that Atletico Madrid clearly just want to get off their books, whilst they take one of our best players from last season and also take a pretty good player from Man City. I mean, it's not even the irony, the messaging, the stance that sends, I think, in terms of Chelsea's position right now and the business they're doing is clear for all to see. And it's just more clutter, and it's just throwing so much stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks really at this point. The Gary Neville original kind of insult and kind of criticism of Chelsea a few years ago, which I found at the time a bit lazy, but you know, time has proven him unfortunately right, is about Football Manager, and everyone says, oh, you know, you're playing Football Manager. I mean, I've played Football Manager. I'm not a Football Manager expert by any means, but it's an insult to Football Manager players because Football Manager players have a little bit more nous, have a little bit more strategy about the way they go in constructing a squad. And to be honest, you don't always have unlimited funds on Football Manager, so there is a limit to what you can do in the transfer market, and you try and construct a squad that can feasibly play well and also isn't going to cause you problems in the long term. So referring this to a video game, I think, you know, video game have more intelligence. I mean, I don't see the logic behind this at all. Aesthetically, yeah, I know people like Joao Felix. I'm not entirely sure why, but they like the little flicks he does that they like the fact that he can take it past a few players, but then, you know, the montages of Joao Felix always seem to conveniently end when it actually gets to the important stuff, which I think is really my main problem with Joao Felix as a player. You know, if you want to look at what he did at Barcelona, didn't pull up any trees, went on loan there to Barcelona, a team that barely, as I saw someone put it, a team that barely had any wingers, and he really struggled to nail down a place there. So I think that sums it up. This is a guy who really is a bit of a busted flush, who, you know, I have real problems with us rehabbing players. You shouldn't be rehabbing players. You should be buying players, at least with Amorodion. You know, there was a theory that, yeah, sure, he maybe brings profile-wise to the squad as a centre-forward what we don't have, and you can kind of develop him. That's the case with Mark Gear. That's kind of the general logic behind a lot of the deals Chelsea have made, is you're hoping that you have to give them some therapy, I guess, in the sense that, you know, you need to give them the time to develop, but there is something there. To try and salvage a career, I never think is a good idea from a transfer point of view. And when you're being asked to pay 40 to 50 million to try and rehab someone, no, there's nothing about this. But unfortunately, it's not that, I mean, you just rather walk away from this deal. I guess, although this is not what I want, if there's still a reality where Chelsea walking away from Felix means that Gallagher can still get done, then that's what I'd be doing, because then Chelsea can move on to maybe signing Victor Osimhen. It's utterly maddening, this transfer strategy, and I think on just a base level, surely it's going to create problems for Enzo Maresca. It would create problems for any coach, where it's too many players. It's too many players who need minutes. It's a real lack of clarity over where the squad planning is. I mean, I didn't even mention it in my Pedro Neto video, but although I like Neto and I think that he could provide some good things for Chelsea, it's easy to forget Estavio Willian and who else? Kenji Pires. You trust me, you forget the lengths of players that Chelsea are continuing to buy. So no one can really spin this as, you know, where Joao Felix doesn't fit into the mold of the young player who could grow into something bigger and better in coming years. It's not logically, it doesn't fit into that bracket. He doesn't fit into the bracket of a player that's instantly upgrading what we already have. I think the loan that Felix had was enough evidence for me that, yeah, sure, aesthetically he may please some people, but in terms of his actual end product, there are serious questions, and it's a regression back to a time when Chelsea were talking about theory in their attack, when actually what we need is end product. And in terms of what minutes he'd actually get substantially compared to other players who probably deserve those minutes over him, it just it continues. This is, you know, back scratching, right? You know, this is what it is in a sense. It's but I even the back scratching part of it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because Chelsea will be lumbered with a player they probably don't need, while saying that you can play they probably could do with having across the course of this season, whilst helping out Atletico Madrid. So if someone can make logic of this, and I'm not, you know, if you're just a fan of Felix because, you know, you think aesthetically he's good, someone can logically tell me how this makes sense in terms of our squad building, in terms of what Chelsea's squad needs, I'm truly baffled. But this is the club now. You know, this is what it is. It's a complete chaos machine, and not chaos and trophies. It appears like it's just chaos, and it's every day. Even when I'm a little bit more optimistic, you're just thrown in the face of something even more stupid, and people keep on telling me that I'm just supposed to suck it up and not say anything, and just, you know, you've just got to believe the people who are spending stupid money. No, I'm going to criticize it because it's a club I deeply care about, and I don't see how this makes us a great team. I don't see how this doesn't end in complete chaos and doesn't actually hurt the players that are being brought in, which, you know, I do care about the players' development. I want to see us not only for Chelsea be successful, but I wonder what's going to happen to a lot of these players, because the repercussions for Noni Madueke, who the club recently invested in, who already maybe is on the outs, and other players too that they've seemingly forgotten they've bought. Man, oh man. And the season hasn't even begun yet. So, let me know your thoughts. The madness will continue. We'll try and cover as much of it as we can. I've got a lot of preview content lined up and tactical content lined up that I'll still be doing this week. But of course, when breaking news happens, we're obviously going to cover it. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.